Hi, my name is Mina Rickey,
And I am Lydia Korjak.
and this is the Code REI,
Discover your perfect real estate investment match with the code REI.
your matchmaker in the world of real estate.
Let us find your investment soulmate and make your heart and wallet happy.
Today's guests are Ryan and Dr. Francesca Byrne, founding partners of Cashflow Capital Club.
Starting out like many of you, buying and selling single family homes, they now own over 1,500 doors.
Together, Ryan and Francesca are driven to help people achieve financial freedom from providing solid multifamily based investment opportunities in an environment of dependability, trust, and absolute clarity. And welcome to the show.
Yes, welcome to the show.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yes, we're so excited that you're here as well. So before we get into our official interview, I always ask this question to our guests. Can you share a funny story being in the multifamily space with us and our listeners?
Yes, this is an interesting story. Could be funny. Ended up being funny for us. Not too long ago, it was late last year, we were under contract to buy 79 units in Mount Pleasant. And these 79 units were under ownership by one owner of a total of 148 units. Everything's going swimmingly. We're working with the seller. We're about to close. But we caught wind of another seller in that complex who also owned 51 units, who was also an interested seller. So having good faith, we decided to use the real estate agent that was already working with us, representing both of us. Say, hey, you're doing such a good job here. Why don't you represent us in this next purchase for this seller? Here's our LOI, letter of intent. We don't hear anything. We're closing on the 79 units. We keep asking, it's like, hey, this other seller, what do you say about our LOI? And we just figured it was lack of motivation, right?
Wasn't ready to sell.
Wasn't ready to sell it or whatever. Story was he wanted to see us close on this first, make sure that we could do it, yada, yada. That's the story.
It kind of was testing us to see, like, could we really do it? Could we execute, what it would look like a few months later? And then we get the phone call.
This is the funny part. Haha. But, we're in the HOA meeting. It's basically us, and this other seller or this other owner. And this other owner asked us in January after we had already closed, it's like, hey, you guys didn't want my units? It's like, I thought you guys were interested. It's like, wait a minute, you didn't get our LOI? Turns out the real estate agent held our LOI, didn't put it in front of him, was trying to front run another offer somehow, some way. Maybe she was getting paid more. I don't know the full story or why she would do it. She worked in the same brokerage as my partner. We go to the broker, said, okay, just release her and we'll pretend that never happened. But the funny part is we get to save on real estate commission by going directly to the other owner, ended up buying his 51 units. Funny story. So you never know what's going to happen in the world of multifamily real estate. We laugh about that one to this day. Yeah.
The joke was on the realtor, I guess.
Joke on her. Yeah. So we ended up,
she shot herself on the foot.
Yeah. It was perfectly set up. Buyer in place, seller in place. All she had to do was shuffle some papers, but she managed to work her way out of the deal. And we ended up saving 5% between us. So,
yeah, the one for us.
Yeah, that's a good story. Definitely. Being in multifamily, there are so many things that's happening. Would you still choose this kind of special niche?
I would say absolutely. Not only would we still choose it, we would have chosen this much sooner in life. I get very, very envious or proud of the young guys in our network that are starting in this in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's amazing.
We wish we had that foresight then,
Yeah. And the more you learn, the longer thing you can think of, not only would we still be doing it, we would have been doing it much sooner in a much bigger way.
Well, there is the information era, right? We have availability to everything. I'm surprised this space is not already overloaded, which it might be in the near future. So I'm glad we're here now, but it's just
Mhm.
out there, right? We are doing things to tell people, hey, there is this space over here where it's
Mhm.
a lot better than stock market and a lot better than crypto and a lot better. This is real assets with real work and real, it's just amazing. Hey, so we were talking about you would have done it a lot earlier. When did you start? And this is for our audience. This is husband and wife team working together. The 4 year old was just recently, just before the recording started, it was knocking at the door. So how does it look like to be working as a couple and as a family in this space?
You want to take that?
Yeah, it's very busy, but the
Yeah, it's
busier
chaotic for sure at times.
it's chaotic. You're always trying to find an extra time to do all the work that we need to do. But it's very fulfilling. It's very rewarding being able to, we're very grateful that we do have the ability to do this type of work. Francesca is a full-time physician. She's in multifamily. She's a large part of the business that we built together, bringing more people into what we're doing so that they can participate alongside of our multifamily investments. I'm on the operational side, and we just take advantage of every hour of the day that we have available to us to make
Mhm.
this work. And it's very, very rewarding. And us being so busy, it prevents us from stepping on each other's toes, so that's the good part of it. But
So I'm curious, Ryan, what does your day look like in a daily grind when you're weekdays? What does it look like?
yeah, I was thinking about that, in the world of the entrepreneur, we have 1,000 things that need to get done. We have time to do 20% of those things. So every day is a little bit of a scramble depending on what's needed, what we need to do
Certainly.
right now, so sometimes that is underwriting a deal, getting back to a broker as quickly as possible so that we can be included on the next off market opportunity. Sometimes we're going all in on our capital raising efforts. The deal is under contract, all the terms are worked out. So we're on the phone, Francesca and I, constantly setting meetings. We're doing face to face like we are right now. The other part is sort of building their business, which is focusing on the marketing, the presentation, and allowing us to reach more people so that they can share in these opportunities with us. But it's a full day, and every day is different. And then we have a backlist of to-do items that may never get done, but they're there. So it's
There's communicating and updating, our current investors
Mhm.
on past or, current projects. So yeah, there's
financial
always
reporting. There's, we're working with the property manager. So it's a lot of networking and communicating with various groups of people. It's,
Mhm.
finding those partner relationships for the next opportunity, maintaining broker relationships, maintaining our investor relationships, reaching out to new investors. So it's a lot on the phone and networking and speaking with people to make all this happen for us.
Mhm.
So you mentioned all these people. So I assume you have a team. And who's on your team that helping you with all of this? Because it sounds like it's our work.
Takes a big team for sure. A team that you trust.
Yeah, a team that we trust, we're familiar with, we know. And there's various roles in the multifamily space that help us do what we're doing and allows us to go after more lucrative opportunities that we could never do on our own as investors or as operators. We have a KP, key partner, that allows us to take on bigger loans to go after the more lucrative opportunities. I have boots on the ground. People who know these areas extremely well can access the properties very quickly. Property management is key. we consider our property manager as part of our team. She's not a partner, but to have 20 years of property management experience on all of our deals is extremely valuable. We have our capital partners. They're our investors that help make these deals happen. We have our underwriting and sourcing. We're all participating in that.
The capital raisers.
Yeah. Then our network is only so vast as to bring in capital. We're looking for other capital partners who can bring in additional capital in experience to add value to our team as well. So that's the team in a nutshell. And it's a network of, not a network, but
It is.
individuals that
It is.
all make this happen,
So,
And when we started out this venture, we were trying to do all of this by ourselves, do every single piece. And that's when it delayed our entry into multifamily, where we knew everything by the book and had studied it. But it took us about 7 years to get it through our head. It's like, we don't have to do this alone. We can bring in people that have way more experience than us, have access to capital that we don't have, access to banking relationships that we don't have, and we can work together to make this happen.
Yeah. And then we saw that by going bigger, bigger units, bigger deals, more units, it actually was easier and more streamlined as opposed to trying to do the duplexes, the fourplexes just by ourselves.
So that's how you got started. What year did you guys get started? And what was like the timeline? Then by then we started thinking like this, and then we did that. What happened? What story?
We've always been investors, lifelong investors as far as our professional career. I mean, we started in equities, in the stock market, picking individual stocks, realized real estate was the way. That risk to reward ratio outweighed any of our investment opportunities. And we started the education maybe back in 2009, 2010. We ended up buying our first property in 2012. And then we focused on single family homes, even though we were researching multifamily. So, I mean, that's 10 years.
Yeah, that's
10, 11 years ago, we were researching and wanted to do multifamily, but we stuck to single family because that's what we could wrap our heads around. That's what seemed durable, the execution, we could get in the multifamily space. Like, as attractive as it looked, it just seemed the complexity of it and the time and all of that to access the deals, find the deals, manage the deals. We couldn't wrap our head around
how to get our foot in the door almost.
Yeah. And so it took us a while. We were investing in multifamily for last 5 years. And then over the last years, when we started opening up our opportunities to other people to allow partnerships, working with partners. And that's when things really took off.
Well, and don't beat yourself up, because at the same time, you're building a family. At the same time, Francesca is building a career as a doctor.
Right.
You're also really trying to get your head wrap around this and taking action as well, which is challenging. As it's right here. It's on our brain, or the whole business is in our head before we can actually bring it physically. So, you mentioned about that you were doing residential and it took you a time to get into multifamily because you couldn't put your mind around. So what one advice would you give to our listeners who are probably doing also residential and thinking that multifamily, big giant, they don't know how to approach it? What would you give them to passive investor and to some that's actively wants to invest?
Yeah. Even if I would say, whether you're passive or active, start meeting and networking with people who are where you want to be. They're actually doing it.
Yeah.
Meeting, talking with them, listening to them, tagging along with them will sort of make all this achievable in your mind. Once you see the type of people that are doing it, you'll realize that you can very easily do it. If you want to be an active participant in the multifamily space, start investing as soon as possible. It's a great way to learn also. there's no shame in being a limited partner in multifamily. You get tons of experience that way. You get to know the operators personally. Those limited partnerships can lead to active general partnership participation as well. The people that we're working with now that are our partners, we were investing in their deals years ago and got to know them better that way.
And learn about it, you know.
Yeah. Not only is it profitable, but you get the experience and you form the relationships that are required to make a lot of this work.
Mina, I had an interesting experience the other day. I was showing properties to a family with 2 kids, and we had 10 to see. After viewing about half, the family was getting pretty hungry, and they really just wanted to continue the other day.
So what did you do?
I went to my car and pulled out a bag of delicious Rickey Jerky. They loved it so much they were able to continue our day without any issues. All the ingredients are 100% natural, plus every strip is seasoned, marinated, and smoked by hand to give you the best experience and slap you back into the gear. But I need to buy some more.
Oh, just head over to rickysjerky.com and use the discount code, the code REI, for 15% off your first order.
So whether you're a busy real estate agent or just looking for mouth-watering snack on the go, Rickey Jerky got you covered.
Yeah, that is a great point, because at that point, you already have some money in the deal and you have skin in the game and you want to know what's happening. And therefore, you start learning. That makes absolutely a lot of sense. Yeah. So before
Yeah.
you mentioned about the underwriting, you were doing underwriting. I want to talk about what strategies do you use when you're underwriting the properties that you think, oh, I think I can do better in here, or, you know, they missed here.
Yeah, I would say the key to underwriting, I'm doing in this relationship, I'm doing most of the underwriting. All the partners underwrite every single deal that we do individually. The key was to do a lot of it. Underwrite more deals, you'll find better deals. As a team, we underwrote 300 deals in 2021, 300 deals, submitted many LOIs, and we didn't do one deal in 2021. It's just so, but that led and kind of laid the groundwork for the deals that we did in 2022, solidify those relationships with brokers. But when you underwrite that many deals, you'll know the slam dunk home run deal when you find it. And it's like, okay, this is the one that we were looking for. Part of our strategy is to have a lot of meat on the bone, a lot of value add, so that even a deal in its worst case scenario, most conservative scenario, is a home run for us and our investors. We're in a unique position where we can cherry pick the deals that we execute on, and we pass up a lot of stuff. We don't need to do X amount of deals every year. So we save ourselves for the ones that are just anyone would do. And that's the recipe for our success and what we're looking for. And then value add, where we're looking for the no-brainer one, which is rents are here, market rents are here, right? The property rents are here, market rents are here. That's the no-brainer. The stuff where there's not a lot of wiggle room is going to be, you're looking for cost cutting. You're kind of, you're just trying to scrape by to make this deal work. You start forcing the deal to work and you're like, oh, if I make all these capital X improvements, I'll be more comparable to this property. And you're not leaving yourself enough for error, I guess. So that's our strategy. We just go for that low hanging fruit, easy execution, and we pass up a lot of deals to make that happen.
I love that. That's great. You don't need to do a lot of deals. You don't need to get yourself too busy for no money. What are the markets that you guys like?
We love Dallas. We love the hot cities in South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina. I think that's where everyone loves. If you can get into those areas, that's where the economic growth has been, continues to be. Employers continue to move to those areas. Unemployment's fantastic. Rent growth has been fantastic. Landlord friendly, gotta love that. So those are the areas that we've focused on and have a lot of success in.
So I'm going to pull you back into the deals because I'm all about deals, analyzing and all the stuff's number. What's the biggest red flag that when you see, you say, you know what, I'll pass, even though it looks good, but that one red flag that totally ruins the deal.
Yeah. I would say in the multifamily space is a number of owners in a short time period. Change of ownership in a short time period where one operator is trying to make it work, couldn't make it work, handing it off to the next operator. They try to make it work. We've come across those situations, and it turns out there's a lot more going on with that property than what an Excel sheet would show. Like the Excel sheet's saying go for it, but the story is not right. And if you do some digging, you'll find out why that has been the case. That's a red flag.
Gonna tell him about he has a thing called the family test. So, he visits all the properties that we end up going in on. And if it's not a place where he would feel comfortable with me and the kids staying alone, then that's a red flag. So he applies that to every single place as well.
That's our own criteria. I'm sure there's opportunities to be had in other areas, but that's just not our comfort zone. So we know how much work those areas can be. So we kind of stay in our comfort zone also. So that's a personal red flag for me is sort of high crime areas, low income areas we kind of stay away from.
There are people that specializes on that. So let them have those. And you have your own.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said,
Yeah, you learn what works for you and what you know how to execute and what you're comfortable with. And then I think it's important to just get really good at that, as opposed to trying to do all these different things.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, that's a very good test that you guys have because I never really thought about it looking at the history of the sale. So that's amazing, So listeners, pay attention. This is very good test to see what happened. What advice would you give a busy professional that's looking to start to invest in a multifamily space, but they just don't have time?
Go ahead.
Call us. No, I mean, that's how we started, right?
Yeah, we've been to these forums of busy professionals and multifamily educational platform. You have to get out of the mindset that you're going to do everything all the time. Find people that you like, trust, and are competent in the area that you want exposure in. And that can be finding a real estate agent, if single family is your thing, that understands how investing in real estate works. If it's in the multifamily space where you're looking to break in, this thing where you have to do everything yourself, things start breaking. We only have so much time in the day. And if you're in that position where you're a full-time physician, you're working a full-time job, things will start to break and it's not even worth it at that point. It's like, there might be,
and then it's no longer passive income. It's very, very active.
Now you have two jobs instead of one. So start networking and introducing yourself to people who have been doing it and are doing it, and kind of share your philosophy, your risk tolerance, your objectives. And they're different for everyone, but that's what we've been doing, and sort of saying like, we win as investors and operators working together, achieving much higher returns, better results than us trying to do this alone as operators and alone as individual investors.
Well, just before we leave, Francesca, I believe this is what I imagine. I imagine that you're working at the hospital or your office or whatever you do, and you are you're always socializing with these folks that are extremely busy, extremely stressed, super worn out. They make money, but they pay a lot of taxes as well. And also the lifestyle that they have on fire pretty much leaves them like flat a lot of times. And then they have all the debt that they acquired when they were studying and all of that. How comfortable are you on approaching them and saying, hey, there is a different way over here? Because this is a selfish question, because
I have a hard time sharing with people. I don't want to be selling to all my friends. Like, hey, you guys, there's this thing called multifamily that is so, whatever. But how do you go into sharing that space with them?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's an interesting question for sure. And it's an area where I've personally had a lot of growth over the last couple years because like you know, in the beginning kind of was more shy or hesitant. No one wants to hear about this. But then as I kind of it organically, comes up when people are talking about their frustration of having to work until they're 70 before they can retire or, looking at their stocks and seeing how poorly it's doing. And so it comes up naturally in those conversations. And then once I realized how much of an appetite there was for a different, a better way, I got that, the confidence to say, okay, people actually do want to hear about this and want to learn about it. And if they don't, that's fine too. But it has made it easier to kind of breach that and make those first steps of like, hey, are you interested in hearing about this other way? And a lot of times the answer is yes. And then once we do sit down and we're able to go through it in much more detail, most of the people we talk to are kind of just like, oh wow, this is such a clear, more reward, less risk way to invest my money. And so we've had so much positive feedback and excitement about it that then it makes it easier to then, the next time around say, oh, I'm, so and so is in this deal that you also know and trust. And, is that something that you might be interested in? But I'm glad you mentioned too the tax part of it because as professionals, the tax benefits in investing this way is so great compared to the traditional way. And I think a lot of people don't realize that or don't really think about it. And so that's a great way to get people excited also.
Yeah. And also we have as operators who need investors to make these deals work, we really have to change our mindset. And we come from a different perspective as being lifelong investors. I started my career on Wall Street. Many of my clients were hedge funds, private equity clients, but we never got invited to participate in private equity deals. They just weren't accessible to us. They were reserved for ultra high net worth individuals and closed off to normal people like ourselves. So now that we're in a position where we have these types of deals, I mean, we would have loved for someone to give us a phone call to invite us to participate in these opportunities. So it's like we look at the returns, we look at the risk profiles, and we're just like, these are amazing opportunities. And so we have, Francesca and I, as investors doing this for many, many years, we have a moral imperative to share this with as many people as we can because it's benefited us so greatly as investors. I mean, it would be selfish on our part to not at least give the people that we know or have expressed an interest in getting into this to not share these opportunities with them and at least give them a chance to see what it is.
Right.
So we view it from that perspective and not like we're selling something. It's like, let us share what we're doing.
Right.
Does this interest you? If it doesn't, fine. There's a million other people that this does work for. And you just have to let them know that they can access these opportunities, that it is available to them. You can get into these opportunities with far easier than what you can get into single family residential. I mean, some of our investors are in our deals for 50,000. Some of them are in there with self-direct 401ks. Not many people know about that. Their ability to have their IRA, Roth IRA, and old 401ks, they can self-direct into these multifamily opportunities and participate that way. Yeah. So that's a huge part of like how we think. It's like, we need to give at least everyone that we know a chance. And sometimes that requires a phone call. Sometimes that requires 3 phone calls,
I love that. I love that. Absolutely. That leads us into asking you, how can people get a hold of you? That's just perfect segue. Yeah.
Nice setup.
Yeah, please take a look at what we're offering at cashflowcapitalclub.com. We're very accessible. We have a inform and enrich sort of investor relationship with our investors, people who want to learn how to do this. We are very happy to educate and how these deals work, what we offer in particular. So go to cashflowcapitalclub.com. You can take a look at what we do, and getting a hold of us is very easy from there.
Yeah, you can set up an appointment, and we meet with everyone one-on-one, go through the deals, all the line items one-on-one, take our time answering all those questions. And so it's very personable. And we want to make sure that if you choose to invest with one of our properties, that you feel comfortable with that and know exactly what you're getting into and where the value is.
And sharing these opportunities is something that gives us joy, and we love doing it. So don't feel like you're wasting our time by giving us a call.
That's excellent. That's
That's great. Well, thank you for coming. It was a pleasure talking to you, both of you, and we'll follow up and see what other exciting projects you guys are doing.
Thank you so much for having us. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you. This has been a pleasure. We look forward to the next one.